Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. We have another stacked draw preview and prediction video to get into. It's the ATP Swiss Indoors Basel tournament, and I have to say, it's looking pretty darn good. Is it a Masters 1000 level? Maybe. I think it's probably in between an ATP 500 and a Masters 1000 level, and I'm looking forward to getting into this because the top seed Rune has been in horrific form. He's only won one match in his last 10. However, he comes into this with a new coach in Boris Becker, and it's a partnership that has got a lot of people intrigued, some people even excited, and we're going to see how he starts off here in not a particularly easy match as well. Before we get into it, though, remember to that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Let's get straight into this then. So, as usual, we're going to go through every single match, and then ultimately, I will give you guys my winner for this tournament. Also, keep an eye out for any live watch-alongs that we will be doing for the tournament. We should be doing a few, I imagine, plus also some match previews as well. Okay, Rune, as I said, is the top seed, and he plays Kecmanovic in his first round match. Look, I mean, this is not an easy first round by any stretch of the imagination, just because he has not been playing very well. Kecmanovic is a solid opponent. However, I am hoping that Rune is going to rediscover some form, especially given he's coming into the indoor swing now. He won Paris last year, the Paris Masters title, beating Novak Djokovic in the final. And indoors, he seems to have a little bit about him. His game is, you could say, is pretty good on most surfaces, but I do think on the indoor courts and clay courts, which is very different styles of courts, are probably his two favorites, I would say, or the two surfaces that I've seen him look most at home on. So I'm going to go for Rune to start off well with Boris Becker in his corner. Then I've got Sebastian Baez versus O'Connell, the qualifier. I'm going to go for Baez. Andy Murray starts off his campaign in Basel against Hanfman. It's not an easy first round, but he should be able to navigate his way through, in my estimation. Then Sebastian Korda has a very, very tough first round against Echeverry. This is a very tough match. The young and talented Argentine is a difficult proposition for anyone when he's playing really well. And Sebastian Korda started to rediscover some form again, which is great, making a semi-final the other week. Look, if he's playing a pretty solid level, he should be able to navigate his way through Echeverry, but it's not an easy match. So we'll go for Sebastian Korda, though, to make his way through. Then we've got Taylor Fritz versus Max Purcell. I'm going to go for Fritz to get through this. Wawrinka to beat Shevchenko, the qualifier. And I'm going to go for Van der Zandschulp to beat RBA or Roberto Bautista Agut. I just think indoors, I kind of fancy the Dutch player to do something. I think he'll enjoy the conditions. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting because we've got Felix Auger-Aliassime against Leandro Ridi, the qualifier. Now, I have to be honest with you, this is a very interesting matchup because Felix has been in such terrible form. But one thing that he did really well last year is have a fantastic run in the indoor swing. Now, is he going to do the same this year? It's probably unlikely, but will it potentially at least help him rediscover some form? It could do. He won this tournament last year, beating Rune in the finals. So he's got fond memories here. I'm going to go for him to win his first match, but let's see how far he gets in my bracket. Alex de Minaur, Diego Schwartzman. Now, Schwartzman's actually picked up some decent victories recently on hardcore, and Alex de Minaur has had a very, very solid year. I'm going to go for de Minaur to get the win, but don't be surprised if Schwartzman causes the upset. He's found some good form, and he's looked good. I'm going to go for Greek Sport to be the lucky loser here, whoever that might be. Jan Struff, great to see him back. And this is an absolute barnstormer of a matchup. Jan-Lennard Struff versus Chris Eubanks. I mean, both players are massive servers. Both players hit a really big ball from the back of the court. This is going to be so exciting to watch. Look, I mean, both players like to transition and come forward and volley as well. This is going to be such an exciting match indoors as well, given that there's not going to be any issues with wind or sun or whatever else. Like both these players are going to be playing still conditions, winners galore, entertainment galore. I'm going to go for Jan Struff. I just think he might be able to balance himself a bit more in these conditions. And I think he's been playing okay recently. Chris Eubanks hasn't done a whole lot since that run at Wimbledon. And he's got a really good game, but I just wonder whether, it was such a big high for him this year, whether it might get to the stage where the rest of this year is maybe not as good, and then he resets in the off season and starts again in 2024 to try and really, I guess, pick up. Well, not necessarily pick himself up again, but find his mojo again. Hurkacz, who won the Shanghai Masters pretty recently, plays Lejovic in the first round. We'll go for him. Again, he's going to love the indoor conditions. Same with Nick. I think Nikic Jarry is going to be dangerous indoors against Manarino in this first round. I think he'll win. And, I've gone pretty high with him. I think it's not a secret that I do really like his style. I like his game. I think he's very underrated. And I think he's a really, really dangerous player. And I think, in indoor conditions, he's a massive server. He's got big ground strokes. He's pretty similar, you could say, to maybe a Jan Struff, although he doesn't. I wouldn't say that he volleys as much. So he's probably like a Jan Struff who doesn't volley as much, but he's got a more consistent baseline game. So look, I'm looking forward to seeing him, but he will. Yeah, I've got him beating Manarino, who, to be fair, is going to be a tricky opponent in the first round on any fast court. Whether it's grass or a fast hard court indoors, he can be very, very tricky. Then I'm going to go for Giron, who's had a pretty good run recently to beat Hugo Humbert. I think that's a tough matchup for the American, but I'm going to go for him, given on recent form. I'm just thinking he might be able to get it done. And then I'm going to go for Stricker to beat Hassan, the qualifier. Bublik has just won a title. Beating Fields in the European Open. I think he's going to beat Ruud. I think the indoor conditions are just like gold for him with his serve. It's just massive. He has such a big game. Casper Ruud indoors made the finals of the ATP Tour finals last year, so he can play indoors. He can play well indoors. But since Roland Garros, it has been pretty scarce in terms of notable performances, notable results. And I do think this is going to be another one of those matches that we will just think to ourselves, look, okay, his 2023 is pretty much done. And it's almost like he looks like he might be looking towards 2024 because he's just not playing particularly well. And I can't quite put my finger on it. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird one. It's a real weird one because as I said, another Grand Slam final at the French Open, and then the grass he just doesn't seem to care about, which is a really bizarre attitude to have. And I don't think that put him in good stead, in all honesty, for the rest of the year. So, yeah, those are my picks. And then I've got Holger Rune versus Sebastian Baez in the second round of matches. I'm going to go for Holger Rune. And it's a tough match again, but I'm going to go for Holger Rune. Now, Murray Korda. Look, I'm going to be honest. This is not an easy match for Murray. If Korda plays well, serves well, even though Murray's a very good returner, I think Korda's ground strokes indoors is going to be very, very difficult for Murray. And his level, he needs to play out of his skin, I think, if Korda's playing a good level. So I'm going to go for Korda to get the win. And I'm going to go for him to beat Murray. Then we've got Fritz Wawrinka. This is such a good match. Wawrinka isn't a bad indoor player, to be honest. Fritz's serve is going to be dangerous in these conditions. Wawrinka's serve is also not bad. It's actually pretty underrated, his serve. I'm trying to think about the matchup in my head. Wawrinka could hit him off the court, in honesty. He could be pretty hot to handle if he plays well. Fritz needs to almost make it physical and try and drag Wawrinka into some longer rallies. I'm going to go for Wawrinka to cause the upset, Yeah, I'm going to go for it. Then Van der Zandschulp versus Felix Auger-Aliassime. Now, Look, I mean, if this was a year ago, I'd go for Felix, but I just find it very, very, very unlikely that he's going to be able to win. So I'm going to go for Van der Zandschulp. Dimmer, Greek Sports, a really good matchup. Greek Sports being in great form. I'm going to go for Dimmer. I fancy him indoors. And then Hurkacz Struff. I mean, mate, this is ridiculous. Struff Eubanks and then Struff Hurkacz. I'm going to go for Hurkacz, but Struff could easily win this. I'm telling you. Then Jarry to beat Giron for me. Bublik to beat Stricker. I mean, this is just. There are some massive, massive hitters in this draw. I mean, what? Look at these quarterfinals. Rune Korda, Wawrinka Van der Zandschulp, Dimmer Hurkacz, Jarry Bublik. Crazy. Holger Rune Korda. I'm going to go for Korda. I just think I'd be surprised if Holger Rune suddenly just finds, some really good form and makes a semi-final or final. I find that difficult. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins a couple of matches, which is what I'm going for. But I think Korda's looked good pretty recently, and I do like his game. So Sebastian Korda for me. Van der Zandschulp and Wawrinka. I'm going to go Wawrinka, but it's pretty ambitious of me, in all honesty, to have him going this far. But why not? Let's go for it. Hurkacz now. Do I have him beating Dimmer? I think indoors, yes. And I think if he plays anywhere near the level he played in the Shanghai Masters, he's a nightmare for anyone, honestly. Jarry Bublik, what a matchup this is going to be. I think Jarry's going to be too consistent. So I'm going to go for Nicholas Jarry to beat Alexander Bublik, who's been in really good form. It's a 50-50. Well, you could even argue that Bublik's actually a slight favourite in that one. I'm going for Jarry. I'm going to go for Korda to beat Wawrinka. Hurkacz Jarry. I think on paper, Hurkacz is the favourite. Have they played before? Is my question. How's it looked? So they haven't. Jarry's I think from what I've seen, a slightly better returner than Hurkacz. Hurkacz is a better server. He's got better net game. His backhand's more solid than Jarry's. Jarry's forehand's good though. I don't know. Let's go Hurkacz. Right then, final. Do I go for Hurkacz to kind of end the year strong and win another title, following up from Shanghai, or do I go for Korda to make some waves because it's an ATP 500? But if he wins this, it's a stacked lineup. It's a real statement. You know what? Go on. I'm going to go for it as a marquee moment of Sebastian Korda. I'm going to go for him to win. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to hit that like button. Do subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you very much.